Welcome to our video summary of our wood floor restoration work at a Flounder house in Alexandria, Virginia several years ago. I'd never heard the term Flounder house before, and when I did, I was very fascinated by it and decided to do a little bit of research. As you look at the front of the house, it looks like a very typical townhome, but Flounder houses dated to the early 19th century and were primarily in river towns and port towns. When you go around to the back of the house, it's very different. Very modest, slanted roof, shed roof, and very few doors and windows, as you can see. And this is the very back of the house in Alexandria. Now, when you move around to the side, this side of the house actually faces the side lot. And now we begin to see where the term flounder may have come from, because all the doors and windows, all the openings are on the side of the house, much the same way the eyes are on the flounder fish. Step back a little bit and you can see to the right on the left there a large brick wall, and that's actually part of the front of the house. So what we find out is that the back section there, the two-story rectangular structure, was actually the starter house. That was the first part, and it was built in 1815. Now we're looking again, the two-story part there on the immediate right. That's the starter house, and the large three-story structure is actually the back of the addition that was put on in 1850. And now we pivot back around to the front of the house, and we see like I said, a typical or traditional townhome. So basically you have two old homes combined to make one, the Flounder house and the 1850 addition. The wood floors, when you go into the house on the first floor, you're presented with these beautiful pattern floors that were quite popular in the mid to late 19th century and stretched on into the 20th century. They were thin pieces of wood, 5/16 of an inch thick, nailed in place, and you had a variety of patterns that you could choose from, and you could weave in different species of wood to create a very attractive look. This was a unique feature on the second floor in the library. You had the pattern floors going around the perimeter of the room. In the middle of the room, you can see the old pine floors, about 3 inches wide. And what you have here is a slightly lower area to put the pattern or area rug in, and then surrounded by the pattern floors. This is a nice view of the condition that I found the formal stairs going from the first floor all the way on up to the third floor. Going back to the pattern floors, I want to show you a few things I stumbled across at Winterthur, one of the finest museums in the country. It's outside Wilmington, Delaware. These are catalogs that were in their reference library, and these are catalogs of the old pattern parquet floors that I saw on the first floor and second floor. And you have this just plethora of designs and combinations of wood. It made for a very fascinating catalog. Winterthur does a wonderful job of archiving all this type of materials. It's one of the finest museums I've ever been to. It's outside Wilmington, Delaware, and if you ever get a chance to go there, I think it's one visit you will never, ever regret. It's a fun place. Now, getting back to our old wood floors, with all my projects, the first thing I do is to test to make sure that the products that I use will in fact remove the old coatings. And I've laid out some test spots, and as you can see here in my results, the chemicals work very, very nicely. Now you're starting to see what I mean by these just beautiful pattern floors, combinations of walnut, mahogany, oak, maple, and the chemicals did a wonderful job, cleaned it right off. This is back up on that second floor of the library area, and we've got a shot coming up here of our stairs, one of the treads. Again, we just needed to get this old dark product off, and there's the pine staring out at you. Now I've started the removal of the old coatings, and this is in a rear entrance area, and you're starting to see these stunning patterns, and you're starting to see just how effective this passive refinishing is for getting the old finishes off. We're now looking at one of those stair treads, and it's probably seeing the light of day for the first time in about 150 years. This is down in the formal areas in the living room. And as the old finishes came off, uh, and you're looking at bare raw wood, you can see how it does look a little dry and lighter looking, but you're starting to see the patterns coming out. Now, as soon as we started putting the hardening oil on, that's when the big difference occurred. And now you can start seeing the handsome colors of the aged wood coming through. This, I'm going to keep going back to this. This is a chevron pattern, and it's alternating walnut and oak, and it was just stunning. Back up on the second floor in the library area, we had the pattern floor around the old pine where the decorative antique rugs would sit. You can see how that's going to look. Back down in the formal area, the living room, the floor is cleaned up very nicely, and after we got it off and put the hardening oil, we started manipulating it with other products to get a very nice luster, kind of a hard sheen, and a very attractive look, a very different look than what we found when we first went in there. And one of the nice things you see in this photograph is the relief patterns of the old wood coming through because of the passive refinishing. It's not destructive, and it leaves the wood floor intact. And again, back to that beautiful entrance hall. Really enjoyed our work in Old Town Alexandria on the Flounder house. It was a wonderful job. We had a great time doing it, and like I said, I learned a lot. I now know what Flounder houses are, and so do you. Take care.